Hi, so we have reflected on, or I've shared with you my thoughts as to the challenges facing the classical risk methods and practices in the face of 21st century complexity, sophistication, and speed. So I thought what I would do is to share with you and remind you what I mean by classical risk methods and practices. So here you have a simple representation of an entity, its risk profile, the outer limit of the circle being the limit of the risk universe for that organization, the inner thin band being those measurable uncertainties, those known knowns, those insurable risks that typically will comprise 10 to 20% at most of the risk universe. The thick band within it then are the unmeasurable uncertainties, the things that we can only estimate: high, medium, low, red, amber, green, 1 to 5, and so forth. And then more recently, in the last decade in particular, 5 years significantly more so, in the very center you have a space for those things that I would contend are scenarios about which we have concerns, but we don't have enough information to estimate even high, medium, low likelihood. Consequently, we can't put them to a register. We can put them on a watch list, for example. Difficult to get resources to help manage these plausible scenarios which we cannot parameterize. This is just a reminder here of the classical method X and Y axis, clearly in the context of the insurable risks. They're measured on an axis of 0 to 1. In terms of likelihood, or rather probability, and then whatever scale on the impact. And then in the thereafter, likelihood, high, medium, low, red, amber, green, and 1 to 5. Very crude, qualitative, semi-quantitative at best method of parameterizing your risks. Here, expanding on the idea that in the last decade and 5 years in particular, it really is getting hard to identify risks. It really is getting hard to estimate likelihood, particularly in the context of emerging risks. And so we have here the Z-axis coming out here towards me, level of knowledge. Now theoretically, as the level of knowledge increases, you should be able to default back to the classical risk method and then estimate likelihood. But the reality is things are happening so fast, it's getting pretty hard to get a universally established level of knowledge that is bankable, so to speak. And this here then is just a reminder, once again, of what an ecosystem looks like. You have to apply everything that I've just outlined there briefly in every individual instance, for every subpart of each dot here, for every one of those risks that have started in one dot and have traversed the ecosystem. Pretty challenging task. And for this reason, I contend that a systems approach is required, and when you consider the complexity of this in front of us, you have to contend that the classical methods and practices cannot face the challenge. That is not to say that we do not continue to use the fundamentals. We most certainly do. But the classical methods and practices at this stage are approaching their sell-by date. I'll now go into the main part of the discussion in some respects in terms of the uncertainty continuum itself. Thank you.